Hello, everybody.
Hello. As you can see, we have another
Another new background.
different background again. We're still on the road. This one was extra confusing because it is 11:30 where we are. So
New
we,
time zone.
yeah, we had to remember to be on at 12:30 Eastern, which meant being on 11:30 our current time.
Good thing our phone's updated and our calendar updated.
Yeah, so they're keeping us on track. Where are we?
Where are we? We're in Kenora.
We're in Kenora. So
we are in Kenora.
we were
Back in Ontario.
Yeah,
we
back
were
in Ontario.
Manitoba for a little bit. Hanging out with the Tobins.
We were in Winnipeg on the weekend. We did a boot camp with Wealth Genius, which was a really great weekend. We met a lot of really cool people in Winnipeg.
Yeah, Winnipeg was good. I think it was the first Winnipeg Wealth Genius boot camp.
Yeah, and it was good.
Yeah.
We had a great weekend. Visited some of my family yesterday, and then drove to Kenora to visit some more family. So here we are.
I think that's been our shortest drive so far.
The 2-hour drive was nice.
Georgian Bay to Sudbury was short.
Yeah.
So we had one other drive that was short. But.
Yeah, so we're slowly making our way back now. I'm obviously still doing some work on the road because that's what you got to do.
That's what you got to do.
So.
It's not a full vacation, that's for sure.
Yeah, but that's okay. We're okay with that.
So last week we spoke about tenant relations, but we talked specifically on selecting a good tenant.
Yeah.
And we turned it into part 1 and part 2 because I think we just didn't realize how much there was to talk about when it comes to selecting tenants. So part 2 this week being maintaining a good relationship with your tenants.
Yeah, so it's one thing to do, good due diligence on your tenants, making sure they're a good fit for your property. It's a whole other continuing that relationship.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure that you are maintaining that so that there aren't any problems along the way.
Yeah.
So you want to start off on a good foot and then continue that. So.
By the way, if you're here, drop a comment below, like it, share it with your friends.
Say hi.
Say hi if you're here. Say hi if you are watching the recorded version of this.
Mm-hmm. And as always, we want this to be conversational. So we'll keep bantering back and forth. But if you have something that you want to add to the conversation, put it in a comment below. We're trying our best to keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
So you can join in the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, we're just talking from our experience. So we want to hear from your experiences as well. We want to understand how you are maintaining relationships with your tenants and building on that.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping kind of a good relationship with your tenants, I think, is the key. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be a slumlord.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want to keep my relationship with my tenants today.
Yeah. And it's especially important in markets like Ontario,
mm-hmm.
where the landlord-tenant rules are pretty much in favor of the tenants for the most part.
It's pretty strict. So once you have a tenant in place, you've decided that they're a good fit, you want to make sure you're continuing that relationship because if things break down, it can get very tricky to end that relationship. So we'll talk a little bit about our vision and some of the things that we've done to make sure that we maintain a good relationship with our tenants. And I think a big part of it comes down to the vision that we've had for our portfolio in general. And that vision really came from a couple of years ago when we were really first starting to build our portfolio and we realized that we wanted to do buy and hold. Hi, Cola. I saw you pop up in there. It was good to see you this weekend. I hope you got home safe. It started a couple of years ago. We watched someone do a presentation on really it was around tenant relations is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And we picked up some really cool things from that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's about building a good relationship with your tenants. You want them to love where they live. You want to kind of build a community around your property, around your, especially when you're talking multifamily, right? You want the tenants to be feeling like they're in a community and not fighting with one another, because that's going to be a big headache.
Yeah.
But
So
the talk was really around programs that were put in place that obviously it's initiated by the property management company, but it makes the tenants feel good. There's gifts towards to the tenants, and I guess kind of like can I say a draw? What's the word I'm looking for?
well, if anyone was at actually we can if anyone was at the multifamily conference in Toronto this year, you actually saw this speaker. Her name's Janet LePage.
Janet LePage, yeah.
Um,
Western Wealth Capital?
yeah.
Western Wealth Capital, I believe, is the company.
So she's the one that really inspired our vision for our company. And she does different programs, like she'll do a backpack program for the kids in her building when they start school, because she noticed that a lot of the kids were going to school without a backpack. So she has a program where she will fill these backpacks and give them to the kids when they start school.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has like a rent program where they basically the building staff vote for the tenant that they think
one family.
a family that should get their December rent covered basically by the landlord. And then I think now they've even evolved that into they actually set up like almost a Christmas or holiday.
Yeah, it's like a Christmas program.
It's
That's the idea behind it being December as well, right? It's basically a Christmas gift to that one family to say your rent is covered, don't worry about it this month.
Yeah, and that really inspired us to really, I guess, switch our vision on how we wanted our company to run. We thought it was really cool that, again, it goes back to your tenants are also your customers, and you want to make sure that you're treating your customers well, because just like a returning customer, you want to make sure that you're maintaining a good relationship with them. And we just thought that this was such a beautiful way not only to maintain good relationships with your tenants, but also to give back to them. Because in the end, they're the ones that are helping you grow your business.
Mm-hmm.
So that really, I think, transitioned how we viewed our business and what we wanted to do with it. We haven't gone quite that far because I think we're not quite at that scale yet.
That's right.
But it's something that we always keep in the back of our mind, and we've taken little pieces of that and adapted it to what our current portfolio looks like.
Yeah, like we do things, not quite to that level, like you said, but we do move-in gifts. We do gifts at Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
It goes a long way. It can be such a small gesture, like a $20 or $30 item, but as a tenant to receive that from your landlord, it changes the dynamic a little bit.
Yeah, and that's one of the first things, like Jeff said, one of the first things we do with our tenants. So now, going back to our discussion from last week, you've done the due diligence, you've made sure that this person's a good fit for your property. And then when we go to give them the keys, so on move-in day, we'll also bring them like a gift basket. And normally it's a bit of a mix of what it has inside of it. We do a lot of like cleaning supplies and stuff to say like, hey, like let's maintain a good, nice, clean apartment. But then we'll also have we'll put it in a basket that they can reuse and put in the apartment. We'll do like a
garbage bin or some sort of maybe something you can throw blankets into afterwards. Yeah, something that's functional, but also it looks nice as a gift.
And then we'll do like a little, something small that's almost like a welcome home gift that goes in it. Like the last one we had a little, not plaque, but something like a little thing that said like welcome home or something that they could put on the wall. Mm-hmm. We put candy in the last one.
There's no place like home or something, just like a little thing.
Yeah, so it's really nice. Like we've found that the tenants when they're moving in, they really appreciate that. We also do stuff that a lot of times people will forget that they need on move-in day.
Yeah.
And that stems from my grandma. When I moved into my apartment, I got like a bag of stuff from her, and one of the things was a roll of toilet paper, and I thought it was the weirdest thing until the day I moved in, and I was like, right, I don't have any toilet paper. Like, these are things that you need to buy when you move into your first place.
Yeah, moving day, you get there, and you don't have the tools that you need to put your bed together. Mm-hmm. Just little things that you just don't even think about. Like the most recent tenants that we got, they even said to us after they received the gift, and inside of it there was a plunger and a toilet brush. And they're like, it's funny because earlier today they said to each other, "Oh my God, we're gonna have to go out and buy," because they were moving from their parents' place. So this was kind of their first time living on their own, and so like, yeah, we're gonna have to get a toilet brush
Just all these
or a
things.
plunger, like things that you just wouldn't really think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. So that so far has been like a really cool thing that we do, and it's something that I think we're going to continue to do as even as we grow. So tenant gifts on move-in, that's a big one. I think it also, depending on what you put in that gift, can also kind of set the stage for some, we'll call it expectations, I guess, on how the property will be maintained. The thing we put in is like 3M stickies, because you don't, to try to avoid people like hammering into walls and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just little things to like get them set up, but also to kind of set the stage for how the property should be maintained. And then we'll continue to do little gifts throughout the year as well. Maybe normally the biggest one is that move-in gift, but then we'll do like something around the holidays. We'll get them all something small. And
yeah, even if it's just like I don't know, we've done like hot chocolate set, right? It's just like a mug and hot chocolate. It's just a little gift to go and say, hey, Merry Christmas. Here's a little something.
Yeah, and we always get good reactions, good feedback from that. People
because
always,
it's unexpected and most people don't do it.
Yeah, our tenants are always like shocked that we're giving these things to them. So that's always worked out really well. So really, what it comes down to is we want them to know that, you know, we know they're there. We appreciate them. We appreciate how they're maintaining our properties, and you know, we want to continue to work with them. Hopefully we're not frozen.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We're good.
That's good. So that's a big one, is the tenant gifts throughout. The other thing that came from that initial discussion that Janet did was the community feeling. And I think that's always been something really cool that we want to build within our company. And obviously within our company and within the buildings that we are getting, we're putting in our portfolio. And that, the way that we saw that happening was doing like activities for the tenants, or, you know, letting them kind of make, to a certain extent, make the building feel like home.
Yeah, like if you've got a garden out front, then kind of encouraging that the tenants go and take care of that garden, almost like it's like a community project or something like that, right?
Yeah, like whether it's a flower garden, or maybe you like have a vegetable garden that they can go in the summer and grow some vegetables on the property. We've also, you know, thought of like doing like a barbecue or something like that for the tenants. So again, these are just ways for the tenants to really feel like they're at home in the property. Actually, one of the coolest ones was the 24 unit. And it's like the smallest things, but the 24 unit that we are closing on
soon
next month. When we first went to the property, what really attracted us to the property was that they already had established this community feel to it.
Yeah.
And when we walked in, there were actually pictures from the tenants that they had put up in the hallway. And some of the tenants will like switch the pictures out depending on the season.
They just want it to feel like home.
Yeah.
I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and that was really cool to us to see. Like, our vision is to create this community feel, and this building already had that. The tenants would go for coffee together. They'd go on walks together. Like, they had the artwork in the hallways that they were switching out. So again, you want it to be to a certain extent. You don't want like the tenants painting the hallways or something like that.
Yeah, they can't feel like they can't have too much, I guess, control over that, but within reason, right? And some people out there might be thinking, why do I care? Why should I care that my tenants have that community feel, or like why would that be important? As long as they're paying rent, then what does it matter?
Yeah. And you know, that is fair up front, but when you really look at it, again, we'll go back to your tenants are also your customers. So think about any time that you've gone anywhere as a customer, if you've been treated well, if the person working wherever you went was attentive to you and really helped you, you're more likely to want to go back to that store. You're more likely to want to purchase from them. You're going to trust them, and it's the same thing for a tenant. If they like where they live, if they love their community, if they love their apartment, they're more likely to take care of it because they love it.
It's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Taking care of the asset, making it, if it feels like home to them and it's not just a place that they can throw their trash around and they actually have respect for it, then that's going to turn into a much better relationship between you and your tenant.
Yeah, like they're the ones taking care of your investment, really.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that they're happy so that they have pride where they're living. So now they're going to take care of that asset with you.
Yeah. And if you have a good tenant, likely they're hanging around with other people that would also be good tenants. So why not encourage that type of behavior and even ask your tenants, do you know anybody that would be a good fit? Like have a little referral program.
Yeah.
Because if you're a good tenant, then you probably have friends that are going to be good tenants as well.
Yeah. So those tenants that are happy, they love where they live, they're going to take care of your asset, and they're probably also more likely to pay their rent because they have respect for the building, they have respect for you. Most people don't want to screw other nice people over, right? So they're gonna want to pay their rent, they're gonna want to stay where they are, they're gonna want to take care of your asset, and I think that's really important. I think a lot of people forget that tenants are people.
Yes.
Right?
It's a human, like you're dealing with humans here. You're dealing with people. It's not just a customer. It's not just a tenant. It's not just rent coming in.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's not just rent coming in. There's a person behind that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. I think a lot of people, especially in Ontario, and I know a lot of other provinces are like that. Even I think other countries are like this, where there seems to be this like butting heads of
landlords versus tenants.
and tenants. And I think it's the saddest thing that I don't know what's put us in this situation. I have a feeling it's a lot of the rules that have done this, but it is what it is.
I think it's the opposites, right? It's the ones that are pro landlord, pro tenant, but why not just have a good relationship?
Yeah, be pro landlord tenant relationship. I think it's really sad that a lot of tenants and a lot of landlords have been basically pitted against each other, and there's like this butting heads. Because to me, you're working together, right? Like you want to work together to give them a great place to live and have them basically give back in the way of, supporting your business, supporting your asset. And I think it's really sad that this butting heads has happened.
If you don't care about your tenant, why should they care about you and your property?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why are they going to care about you when you don't care about them?
Yeah.
I think that's really.
Yeah, I think that's
really important.
I think that's a really good point. So, in all of this, within tenant relationships, remember that tenants are people. You're
in the people business.
Yeah, they're not just your rent. They're not just the person that's helping pay the mortgage for the property. They're people. So when there are issues, don't just say I have a problem tenant. I have a problem tenant. Maybe you don't have a problem tenant. Maybe the tenant just has a problem, and you need to go and investigate.
Go help them with that problem. Go help them with. Help give them a solution.
Yeah, so don't just automatically, and I think this comes from the fact that tenants and landlords have been kind of pitted against each other, that we forget that maybe the tenant just needs some help with something. And if we go in, treat them like a human, and try to problem solve with them, for the most part, again, if you're going to show them that respect, they're going to be more likely to work with you. So I think that's really important to remember.
I think a good example of this actually is when COVID hit.
Yeah.
We reached out to our tenants to say hey, is everything okay? I know that there's a toilet paper shortage. Number one, we don't want them throwing paper towels down the toilet because they don't have toilet paper and they couldn't. So we said we have a lot of toilet paper.
We shop at Costco.
We shop at Costco, so we had rolls. We didn't go out and hoard 50 Costco-sized things of toilet paper, but we just happened to have some, and so we offered our toilet paper to them to say, if you need some toilet paper, then we've got you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
And from from our perspective, it basically says they're not going to start throwing
Protect your plumbing.
napkins and we're going to protect our plumbing. And from their perspective, it's like, wow, our landlord really cares about our situation.
Yeah.
And then we also said, like, I hope everything's okay. Let me know if you need any help when it comes to being able to pay rent, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because there were different programs that were starting to come out with like people that were losing their jobs, and there's different avenues you could go down. So that's exactly what we did. We were like, if you're in a bad situation, not don't pay your rent. It was let's figure out how to solve the problem so you can pay your rent.
Because at the end of the day, rent is still going to be due. But if you're going to have trouble with it, I'd like to know, first of all. I don't want to just get to the second of the month and realize, oh, my tenant lost their job now because of COVID and now they can't pay rent. I would much rather get ahead of that and say, what type of payment plan or program can we put together that's going to help in case there's an issue. And right away, we found out, nope, tenants were still good. They were working from home. They had no issues losing their jobs. And they had a toilet paper subscription on Amazon. So they were covered from that perspective as well. So we just proactively reached out to them to make sure everything's going to be okay and that they were okay, genuinely wanting to help them.
Yep.
And in return, we understood the situation there was no situation.
Yeah.
Everything was good. Business as usual.
We received rent from all of our tenants on the first of the month. There were no issues. And maybe we would have received it anyway. I don't know. But again, the tenants knew at that point that we were there for them.
Toilet paper. Don't they expect you to provide them toilet paper all the time now? No, absolutely not. The idea was just because there was a toilet paper shortage, right? We wanted to ensure that they had it.
Yeah, and we weren't going over there with like a whole thing of toilet paper. It was like, we have like a roll to get you by until like you can find toilet
some again,
paper,
because all of the places were low on toilet paper.
Yeah, I think there was an understanding that like this was a thing, right? Like it was all over Facebook. People were like going into Costco. Like we remember the videos. People going into Costco and like getting mounds of toilet paper. Their carts were full of them. And so I think they knew where that offer was coming from. And I don't think the expectation was that we were now the toilet paper providers.
And I'm sure we worded it in a way as well that was just like, we understand that there's a shortage in toilet paper. So like if you need if you need some, let us know, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like we're their toilet paper provider going forward.
Yeah. So Yulia says, for my students, we provide some cleaning products too when they move in.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we do. And again, that is that day one where they don't realize. Sometimes I know, like I didn't realize when I first moved into my apartment that I would need to buy these things because I always had them at home magically.
And the other thing is, I mean, we mentioned it at the beginning of this video, but the gift at the beginning is going to be a lot of items that encourage, hey, we kind of expect you to keep this place clean. So here's some cleaning products to get you started. We expect you not to put massive holes in the wall, so here's some 3M stickies, just as like a...
kind of set the tone.
Yeah, setting the tone.
Set the tone.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I think, again, going back to the fact that tenants are people, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
And we saw that during COVID, if you take care of your tenants, again, they're going to take care of you, they're going to take care of your asset. And just letting them know that if something, for COVID, we could be proactive. But, if they don't pay their rent, don't just assume that they're like negligent, bad tenants. Have a conversation with them, talk to them, see what the problem is, see if there's something that you can help them with.
Again, it's that respect back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to give them respect, and you need to say, hey, normally you pay your rent on time. So is there something going on? Is there something that maybe we should be aware of, or is there something we can help you with? And all of a sudden that changes the dynamic versus, hey, rent is due, why haven't you paid it?
Yeah. Right?
Like trying to understand their situation is going to get you a lot further than just going in and here's an N4, give us rent.
Yeah, like still.
Like obviously we're still going to give the N4 because it's due and it's late, but try and understand why. They have 14 days to pay it according to the Ontario rules anyway. So figure out what's going on.
Hmm.
You have that 14 days to do that.
Yeah, I was talking to some investors this weekend at the boot camp, and they were talking about a tenant that is consistently late on their rent. And in the province that they're in, they can do like late fees and that kind of stuff. So it's actually, the guy still pays his rent, but it's actually beneficial to them because they get late fees on top of their rent.
Yeah.
But again, instead of them saying like, oh, this guy is not a good tenant, he can't pay on time, instead of saying that, they went to him and they were like, you're paying a lot of late fees. Is there something that we can do? Like, is there a system that we can set up to help you remember to pay your rent on time? He hasn't missed a payment, apparently, but, is there something we can do so that on the first of the month we get
You're
rent?
paying proper rent, not rent plus late fees.
Yeah. So again, that comes back to not just jumping down the tenant's throat and, giving them a bad image. Is there something we can do to help with that? Because in the end, that's going to help you as the landlord as well.
Yeah. So Lisa asked a question, how do you manage units' interior cleanliness when units are occupied? I noticed that some tenants turn their place into a pigsty. Great question. I think doing regular checks, like just doing your quarterly inspections and walkthroughs of the property are going to help with that, because I don't know personally, I don't want somebody to come into my place and see that I live in that sort of
Situation.
type of situation. But there's really only so much you can do without too much confrontation.
Yeah, if it starts to affect other tenants,
Yeah.
then that changes. If it's affecting common areas, that's different. If it's contained to their unit, it's tough, right? Because you can't really do much about the way somebody lives in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of I think you're right. The fact that if you're not just like never going back to the property and you let it accumulate, that can be a problem.
2 years later, they move out, and you're like, "Holy moly, where did all this stuff come from? Why is it so filthy in here?"
Yeah.
You should kind of know that that's how they live.
Yeah,
because you're doing regular inspections.
And if it's really bad, like if we're talking, like if they start giving you calls because there's like ants, cockroaches, whatever, then that's a whole other conversation, because that's one way. If they're leaving food out and it's like dirty, and now you have a pest control problem, that might be a conversation that you have to bridge with them about the cleanliness, and we won't be able to control this unless things are kept cleaner.
Yeah, like keep food off of the counter, keep like make sure you do your dishes quickly, and make sure that they're not just sitting around attracting mice and attracting ants and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and sometimes there's like we talk about like hoarding and that kind of stuff. Like if it gets to that extreme, sometimes that's a mental health issue as well. So it depends on what degree of pigsty we're talking about here, but if you get into like the hoarding realm, that's often a mental health issue. So sometimes, unfortunately, you also have to be a bit of a social worker. And if it gets really bad, again, this is where you come in to help the tenant, where they might need actual like mental health help, social work help. And there's not much you can do about it except, offer it, but you have to do that in a very special way. I think you have to be, I don't want to say like a special person, but you have to approach it in a very special way so that you're not being judgmental, because you can't you have to
be very careful.
Judge someone for that. So it's very tricky. Obviously, there's different scenarios that make it easier, like affecting other tenants, pest control, that kind of stuff. But otherwise, there's not much you can.
Monthly or quarterly newsletters to your tenants can be a really good way to do that as well. Just have a little blurb in there about spring cleaning, or about how to, I don't know, whatever, how to avoid just some sort of an article or some sort of a write up on keeping a place clean, or
spring cleaning, how to like declutter your
decluttering, Marie Kondo or whatever.
I was like, what's that
lady's
name that does all the decluttering? Get little tips from her or something and throw that in a newsletter.
Yeah, just something that's like constant communication with your tenants, I think, is really important as well. And you can do that through newsletters. You can do that through emails, and just checking in every once in a while. How are things going? Like, is there Is there anything you want to make sure that if there's a maintenance issue, that the tenant's not just ignoring it and not letting you know, because that small maintenance issue, that small drip in the plumbing could turn into a massive leak. But if you catch it when it's a drip, then you're much further ahead and you can save yourself a major headache. So encouraging tenants to let you know when there's maintenance issues or something like that can be really beneficial. So it's just constant communication and making sure that you are doing your inspections and that they're happy where they live. It's going to go it's going to help.
Yeah, and even on the communication piece, like if they bring something to you that needs maintenance,
take care of it.
Yeah, take care of it and communicate with them. So if you've set up an appointment to fix whatever that problem is, and maybe it's going to take a week, it's going to take 2 weeks, maybe it's something that's not super urgent, but you still are going to fix it. Let them know that you've scheduled it. Let them know that there's a plan in place. Like, don't just take that maintenance request, even if you've dealt with it. They may not know that you've dealt with it. So make sure, again, that you're communicating with them, and that's going to strengthen that relationship. Because if they're just sitting there, like, I told my landlord that this needs to be fixed, I'm not really sure if anything's happening. It's been a week. They said that they were going to deal with it, but I haven't heard anything. So even though you've done something and you've taken the proper steps to deal with it, the tenant might not know.
Yeah.
So that's not going to help the relationship either. So
yeah.
Communication, I think, is a really big one.
Yeah, and then even following up, like, hey, I know that you had that issue. Is it still and we went out and fixed it. Is there any signs that has returned, or are there any issues with that? Because as a landlord, I don't know what I don't know, and if the tenant's not telling me that there's a problem, then I have no idea, and I have no idea to fix it. So they could just leave something or stop using a dishwasher because it doesn't work, versus telling you that, hey, the dishwasher stopped working and I'm not using it anymore, or whatever. You can save yourself a lot of trouble, I think.
Yeah.
You can save yourself something from snowballing into a bigger issue.
Definitely. Yeah. So I think in summary, really what it comes down to is treating your tenants like people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think communication is the other biggest one. Obviously, there's the other things that you can do to maintain that relationship, but really, in the end, it's remembering that it's kind of a partnership. They're your customers.
Yeah.
They are the ones
Treat them like that.
Yeah, they're the ones that are taking care of your asset. They're the ones that are helping you grow your wealth. So treat them with respect, and most people will return
reciprocate.
That,
yeah, exactly.
So
let us know below what in the comments what you do, if there's anything that we didn't mention that you do that might help build those relationships and keep good tenants in place and keep good tenants good.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah. And as always, obviously this is recorded, so it stays on Facebook, but it also goes on to YouTube. So if there's anybody that you think would find this useful, feel free to share it with them, either on Facebook or via YouTube.
Yep. And
as usual as well, we do this every week. So it's every week, Tuesday, 12:30 Eastern Time, 11:30 when we're in Kenora, but that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Don't confuse people. It's at 12:30.
12:30 EST
Eastern Time.
Every Tuesday. The topics change every week. If you don't give us some topics to talk about, we'll make up a topic. But if there is something that you want us to touch on, even if something that we touch on, or we bring on maybe a guest at some point.
Yeah, we're looking to bring guests on. So if you want to be a part of this, then we can do it. And you don't have to be in person. We can do it over Zoom kind of thing. We'd love to chat with you guys about whatever it is that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
So if you're coming in from YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you'll get the notifications when we post up another video.
Yeah. Otherwise, until next time.
Thanks, everybody.